I thought J.J. did a phenomenal job, and I have the utmost respect for J.J. He's right. It is a thankless job. It was a thankless job when I had it. I had one recruiting class, or we had one recruiting class that included, it included Brock Lesnar, John Cena, Dave Bautista, and Randy Orton, along with Shelton Benjamin, who was the best pure athlete of the group. So we had a lot of good luck and hired a lot of good guys, but still a thankless job. They're still human beings. Everybody still has issues. You got to correct issues. You got to be the disciplinarian. And I was doing the payroll, so the payoffs are done discretionarily. That's always a cause for consternation. So it's a thankless job. And when you got to let somebody go, that's never fun. And there's always somebody's always got to go. It's like a football team. That's why they have a 53-man roster in the National Football League. You can only carry so many, and when you want somebody to be added to the roster, you got to do the math, and somebody's got to say adios. So I don't know if it was time for a change. Vince allowed me to do my job differently than JJ, and maybe that, and I think that's McMahon's management philosophy. He wanted to change, and so my point is that when JJ hired talent, he had to get it approved or run the talent by Vince. When I hired talent, by and large, so there's some exceptions, but when I hired most of the talents, I hired them without consultation. On several occasions, more often than not, with Vince, because he was involved and busy doing other things, and I thought that was my job. I was going to be responsible for managing them. I was going to take the responsibility if they were amiss. So I didn't. JJ had a different job description in that respect than did I. So I'm not saying that negative about JJ, because I love JJ. It's just that Vince saw that the department needed to have some changes made structurally, and I was just happened to be the next batter up.
Right.
Bruce Pritchard had that job for a while, but it didn't fit his skill sets or his personality. He didn't like it, so I was put in that role and was there for a long, long time. And I had a great run. I was very, very fortunate. I had a really, really good team around me. Jerry Briscoe will never get the credit that he deserves for scouting, and we probably wouldn't have signed Brock Lesnar if it hadn't been for Jerry Briscoe. And we recruited Brock Lesnar for 2 years. But Jerry Briscoe is the primary reason that we signed Brock Lesnar. And then when he signed him, then I acquired him. And so it's always been a team effort there. But Jerry was a viable member of the team. And then, of course, the developmental program that we had, the forerunner of today's performance center, certainly was important. The guys that worked in Danny Davis, Les Thatchers, all the guys. I don't want to leave out any names, but all the guys that worked for the talent. Those guys were Al Snow and Tom Pritchard. All those guys were key members of coaching, teaching fundamentals to a bunch of green guys. Brock Lesnar was a pro wrestler. He wasn't even a wrestling fan. The Rock wasn't refined. Dory Funk Jr. was one of the guys that was one of my coaches. And he refined guys like Edge and Christian. He helped Kurt Angle, who wasn't a pro wrestling fan. We signed Kurt Angle. So I'm very proud of my lineage of the guys that we hired and the guys that we hired to work with them. And all I was ever trying to do was to do what was best for WWE, because that's how I was raised by my father and my mother, is that if you're going to work for somebody, and you're going to take their money, always give them the best effort. You always put the goose that lays the golden eggs before you put yourself. And
Definitely.
that's the way I worked, and it was a simple formula. But we got lucky on some guys and had some good classes, and so I don't really know if it's time for a change. So I don't know if it was time for JJ to go. JJ was very burned out. It was a very thankless job. He had it for a long time. You can only take it so long, and and we were in a real tough spot at that time. Revenues were down. Wrestling people were taking drastic cuts in pay, including JJ, including myself, and others in the wrestling side of the business. And so it was a challenging time for a lot of people. And a lot of people in the company bolted. They they cleaned off out their desk and they left. They deserted. I'm not saying JJ deserted. Office people. They thought when they saw these guys leaving and they heard about the pay deductions and all that, they bolted. They jumped off what they perceived to be a sinking ship. And all I can tell you is that Vince told me it took 5 minutes. I'm going to cut your pay or I'll release you. And here's what I'll pay you. And if you want to stay, I will. When things change, you'll never regret financially that you stayed. And he kept his word, and to the letter. And he paid me more than, and I earned more there than I ever dreamed in my lifetime in the wrestling business. And that's because Vince kept his word to me about how I would be taken care of if I stayed loyal, of which I did.